Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night, so that means it's Tuesday night tune-up on Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. We're here tonight in Morrilton, Arkansas, and we're going to be visiting with Jack Sullivan with Cadillac Chassis, his new venture. We've got the 2020 IMCA Stock Car Champion Edwin Wells with us tonight, and we've also got Chris Sullivan, and he's going to be talking a little bit later about the Comp Cam's late model series for the 2021 racing season. So we've got a great show ahead of us. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Chambers Bank with 26 locations throughout Arkansas to serve you. We also want to thank True Grit Auction Company, the #1 rated online auction company in the state of Arkansas. So if you've got an auction coming up, be sure to check out True Grit Auctions. We also want to thank Shaw Race Cars up in Batesville, Arkansas. And we also want to welcome a new sponsor tonight, Kevin Rogers with KR Performance Fuels. And we also want to thank Western Petroleum for helping bring tonight's Tuesday night tune-up. And with that out of the way, we'll go over to Heath Tate with a little bit of what's going on in the racing world this week.
Of course, there was no racing this past weekend that I know of. Y'all know of anything?
What was something they said raced?
Well, down Texas, they raced a little
Texas,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I talked to a few guys down there actually that ran, but this next week, or this weekend, I guess they've got test and tune at Prescott drag strip. Next week, I guess they're racing down there.
These are first
points race.
for 2021. So wish Jackie and the crew down there good luck with that.
And I guess as far as anybody around here that's running right now, I guess, well, this weekend, I guess Travis Mosley is running it. He's running down south,
Down in
somewhere
Texas. Down in Texas. So
Arkansas here, so.
So maybe with springtime and March being here, racing season's just right around the corner. And we'll have a lot more current stuff to talk about. But also want to, just a second before we get underway, last week's show with Pete Butler and Cody Gardner. Now, it was a great show. Got a lot of good reviews, a lot of good phone calls about that show. So good luck to Pete and Cody as the 2021 racing season comes on. But tonight we're here in Morrilton, and we're going to start off here with Jack Sullivan. If you've been around racing 2 days, you know who Jack Sullivan is. And
I don't know him.
you don't know him?
No, I've watched him race a lot, but I don't.
Okay, well, maybe
I'm just giving him a hard time.
maybe over the next hour and 15 or so minutes,
we'll figure this out.
You'll get acquainted.
Yeah.
So,
They know him better than he wants to.
yeah. Like I said, we'll just open the floor up for you to get acquainted here. But anyway, Jack, thank you and Edwin for having us down here tonight. Like I said, you've started a new venture here in 2021 with Cadillac Chassis. And a very nice IMCA stock car chassis sitting back here in the background that your company's working on completing. So very nice looking car. So let's talk a little bit about your racing career and how you got started.
Well, we tell Johnny's version of this. We took you to the go-kart track.
Well, actually started before then. I probably started racing in, well, I don't know if I ever started racing. I didn't start racing until probably 99, I think, but I started.
He had to throw that 99.
There you go. That's what? We love 99.
What a coincidence that was.
What that coincidence? Yeah. Yeah, that's why I wanted to 10. I heard England 99.
Yeah. I actually started GRT when I was probably, I was still in high school, I think 94, somewhere in there. And so yeah, I started going races with Burden, Fry, Carden.
Ain't that a crew?
Yeah.
And you survived.
He was in some trouble.
Carden, I'm gonna tell you what, Carden, that's when Carden, you go with him a weekend, that'll teach you about life. And, so yeah, I've run them down the road with several characters over the years. Freddie Smith, Bart Hartman, oh man, you name it, I've probably met them. They've all come through Greenbrier, over the years, buying cars or whatever, and I've been fortunate to do that, and then finally started racing the go-kart. We used to build go-karts at GRT, and started there, so I built a go-kart and raced a little while. It didn't take me long, it's cheaper to run a car than a go-kart, and so,
I think that's having trouble keeping the bumpers on the go-karts though.
I was a little rough. I was.
Yeah, and JB says he went down there with him the first time. He said he finally had to tell Jack, if you'll pass them people and quit running over them, you can get by them a lot quicker.
But JV was so big, ain't nobody ever come out and bother us. But, yeah, so started there, and then, I worked for Joe through the whole time, and, I don't know, somewhere in there, somebody bought a car, a chassis, and it never come pick it up. I think it went to prison. And it sit down at Joe's house for a long time. So, I worked for probably, I don't know, a year and a half. I never got a paycheck. I put that thing together, and that's how it kind of all
Went late
started.
model racing then.
Was that modified?
No, that modified.
That was modified.
Okay.
Yeah.
I run I didn't get in a late model until probably '04.
Okay.
Like one, a bunch of mod shows and stuff, a lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
My check can go on one wall, and Jack's goes all the way around his shop over there.
Right, racing. I've been racing's done more for me than I ever dreamed it would. It, you know, give me a job, a passion, got me off the streets, and give me something to do, you know, because I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing without it. So, pretty fortunate.
So what year
Everybody
did
sitting at
you?
this table, racing is a part of everybody's life. I don't know about you, the rest of us.
Yeah.
What year did you venture off in the late model racing?
About '04, Wendell, yeah, he's another one I run up down the road with, my God, in Wendell.
Talk to Wendell today.
He didn't show up tonight either, did he?
Hey, you waiting on him, you behind. He had a friend named Doug Bryant, and Doug Bryant wanted to get back into racing a little bit, so he bought me my first late model and a Papa Bear, and so I started racing late models, and we raced for him for a long time, and then, you know, then he decided to get out, and we just started racing for sale, and then I raced Joe's car there for a few years, and then went home and started racing for my brother. We raced together. And
When did
so-
y'all start racing? Remember, Chris?
It had to be after 2010. Well, what, before?
No, it had to be,
Like
One moved
12,
home?
13,
yeah,
14 maybe.
yeah, somewhere in there. And so I've raced from Maine to Spain, you know, Canada to Florida to, I don't think I ever made it to California. We got too dang close. And
Was it about, what, 16, 17, when you quit racing the late models all the time, went just back to the modified?
16, 17, no, I had,
Was it after that?
You won the championship in 8.
18?
So we're going to the series 19, 20. So
Okay.
I just recently built a modified last
Okay.
year.
Last year is when you
Yeah.
started racing modified all
Yeah, I
the time?
just got one to run around Batesville.
Batesville, yeah.
You know, Moon's paying good money, man. You kind of fool not to have one. And, so yeah, you know, Tracy, she pays good money, so if IMCA deal, it kind of, I'm not the biggest fan of crate motors, but, you know, it is, you know, it is.
It's kind of kept the modifieds alive, I think, though.
It has, it actually saved it. I think I told that Brett Root, I was so critical over the years of IMCA, you know, as we started racing, you know, IMCA, we just all just hated it, you know, because, I mean, they had such a rule base, and we were all wanting to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, hindsight, we were just killing it, you know, but at the end of the day, IMCA probably saved it all for everybody.
They have, I think. I called Brett Root whenever they printed the I-30 rules. They've equalized the stock cars and the IMCA stock cars and their street stock cars they've equalized him a lot closer this year. And when they printed them rules, I called him and told him, called Brett and told him, I said, you know, I'm gonna do something probably you don't get very often, but I'm gonna thank you for doing what you done at I-30. Of course, he said, well, that wasn't all me. He said, all I done is printed what they said. I said, yeah, but by us starting there in the stock cars last year, and y'all going and getting everybody a lot more equal this year, you'll have a lot more cars that'll come and race and stay with you. Because they've got us on a lot more level playing field than we were last year.
Right.
Of course, it's just like anywhere else. They've got to take it and keep it level. And I think the tech men are going to try exceptionally hard this year to do that.
You know what, when I guess your career is what we was talking about it, you went late model, modified, but this past year, I know I watched, you got in a IMC stock car for the first time.
No, not the first time.
Well, pretty close.
Second
Second, okay, well, pretty
They drove
close.
mine the first time.
Okay, pretty close to the first time there at the Duel in the Desert, and ran well.
Yeah, that was, when we built Ed's car, and I always thought all year, man, well, I like to drive Ed's car one time. They just looked so fun, the IMC stock cars. I just thought, man, we let him drive it there at a practice night or something. I thought, this is the most fun I've had in a race car in a long time. Like it is.
Yeah, she got out smiling.
Yeah,
He did.
it is like old school racing to me. I like the modifieds, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I kind of ruined it. With the whole, we're just all bound up, blowed up, and it's just kind of, the racing ain't as good, but that thing right back there, if you want to go racing, that's a race car.
And you can race it anywhere you want to race them.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it, just about they race all over.
And those that didn't get to see any of that and watch it, it was so exciting because, I mean, of course y'all were there, but man, when you're coming down to 2 laps to go, there's 10 cars sitting right there, and any one of them might win because they're just piled up. I mean, it's racing. There's back and forth, back and forth.
It's the most equal thing out there because, and I really, the cars are pretty close. That tire ain't real good, and so
It's the equalizer.
it's the equalizer of it. And you gotta be, you run a 2-barrel, but you still got throttle response. It's not like a crate motor where it's just like, a guy can flip in front of you and you still can't pass him. But that thing still has a throttle response where you feel like you can kind of be a little smoother
With it,
than the next guy and still be
You have to
faster.
drive these cars wide open like you do the crate modifieds.
Yeah, and so, which is funny, we was in Vegas there, I think I'm in the first heat, and I'm thinking, I think, half dumbass, I gotta think, I'm thinking late model. So, we blow down the front straightaway there or whatever, and I think Jordan was on the outside in the Grabowski or something. I beat him, I slide jobbed him, and we were running around there. I'm thinking, man, I'm going. I'm backing this thing in the corner. And next thing I know, 2 of them passed me. They're just tugging
Over on the right front,
Yeah.
just turning, and here we go.
I thought, oh wait a minute, I'm doing this all wrong here. Yeah, I got me a lesson there. I've got to calm down here, man. You can't drive it like that. So once I figured out how to, it's about like going down to your local little go-kart slick track. It's really how them things race, and so yeah, I fell in love with it, and we had a good time out there, and enjoyed it, and then lo and behold, here we are.
Yeah, his frame's sitting out here in the pile.
Yeah.
He's in line to get one.
Yeah, I'm in
built
line to
now.
get one too.
Joe Slade's.
so is it, getting in one, is that what made you decide to start Cadillac chassis and do
Well,
this?
that wasn't a total reason, but I've always kind of had the idea of, I always kind of wanted to build my own car or whatever, and so just a lot of things in life is timing. It just kind of fell you know, I was up GRT for, you know, for a year and, you know, it just, timing felt right, so kinda what happened.
Now, did you take, what was it, didn't you used to hang out a lot with Habitampa, we run Habitampa? Weren't you?
Yeah. Well, I run around, I was
Or was it the
Wendell,
Mars series? Was Mars series, did you take some in or did you not?
Tech,
Or was you was at the Mars series? I'm just trying to remember. I was trying to think whenever I first was around you very much, and I knew I'd seen you at GRT, of course, but
no, I never really.
I was thinking
ran
you ran one
Mars
series.
I never, it's the only, other than when we did the bought the comp series, that's the only.
I was
tech
thinking you
I
had
did.
something to do with that whenever Johnny was taking
No,
something.
that was Peyton.
Yeah, I knew Peyton was around. Yeah, I knew
Yeah,
that.
them
I'm
two,
not-
let me tell you
I'm
what, them
not
two are
confusing
real
you
good
with
tech
Peyton
officials.
now. Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's hard to find any that are good, so.
Yeah.
Speaking from a man with true experience, huh?
Yeah.
I don't want that job.
No, me.
Tim Brown tells me about it all the time. He tacked one track up there in Missouri. He tacked there at one track for a while, and I think he was prepping at one of the other tracks up there. He said, "Man, I ain't ever had so many people that didn't like me whenever I was tech man."
It'll certainly boost your popularity.
Well, there ain't but one guy that leaves happy during the races. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the one that.
yeah, the guy went, he's happy, the rest
No, I've
of
seen a few of them that wasn't,
but, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what drives the sport, but yeah, I mean, there's usually a,
where, being that y'all, this is what y'all are building these IMCA stock first. And Edwin, you're coming off of a championship this past season, I-30. Where do you think this car is gonna take us in the future as far as racing goes? Is it gonna help stabilize it and maybe
hope.
build from it, or?
I hope that it'll do to racing down here what it's done in Iowa and that area. But now, racing in Iowa and up in there has never been to the level I feel like it's been here in Arkansas for the last few years. I think Iowa has always had big race fans and big races, and they're more involved in the racing than we are in the Arkansas area. And I think a lot of that's attributed to the tracks and the promoters and the owners up in that area. And I'm not knocking the racetracks here in Arkansas. It's a different area in the United States, and there's different people and different population and everything. And I guess maybe that's part of it. I mean, them people go through some rough winters up there, and I guess, I don't know if that had anything to do with the racing or not, but I can remember the first time that I went, it was 97, we went to the IMCA Nationals at Boone. And we crossed a line up there somewhere in Kansas, maybe as we went over and up into Iowa up that way. You pull over to a truck stop to get something to eat or fuel or something and get out and walk in. Everybody in the place nearly had a race shirt on. You walk in with your shirt on, or somebody, we never wear your own shirt, but somebody else's shirt you're wearing. But you walk in with a race shirt on, and before you could get sat down, somebody in there would say, "Hey, where y'all headed?" You know, they knew they was out of the Nationals, of course, and everything. But it's just a different, it's a different world up that way.
And you're right, because it's just, I mean, how many places across the country do you got 2,000 to win and 200 cars show up?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not very many places like
Well,
Boone, but it's just,
in Louisiana,
you know, there's just
Louisiana
lots of
factory
race, there's
stock
lots of
cars.
race fans. But there's lots of race fans here in Arkansas, and that's what,
There is. I'm not saying there's anything
Yeah.
wrong with our race fans here in Arkansas. We appreciate all of them. We're glad they come out and support us and everything. But it's more along the lines up there. That's part of their everyday
It's a culture.
it's
their
their
culture
It
in that
is.
area.
It
Where
is.
it's not as
It
much
is.
here, I don't think, as it is up there. But it's always amazed me to be in the northern states whenever we lake model race and stuff. It always amazed me there's someone there, whether you run in the back or you run up front, somebody's coming to your car after the race and talk to you.
Yeah.
That's always amazed me. They want to come out and meet the race car drivers. And they do that here, of course, but it's just,
And I
it's
think,
different there.
I think tracks and promoters have got to do a better job of making the drivers more available to the fans.
Yeah, I agree, it's
I don't
tough to
think- I don't-
do.
It is, it's gotten tougher over the years, but I think to put more people in the stands, I think owners and promoters have got to do a better job of making the racers available to the fans.
And something else I think for the kids to do, make the kids have more to do while they're there. I don't know, I don't get to sit in the stands and watch it,
I
but
mean, I agree with you, but you got, well, and like you said, there's lots of kids out there that sit over there in the bleachers, and they look out there and they go, well, there goes Cadillac Jack Sullivan in his modified, and da-da-da-da, boy, I sure would, like I said, there goes, and, well,
Yeah.
there's lots of kids out there that look up to a lot of these race car drivers, and my thing is to keep all these people from coming,
Yeah.
because without those people in the stands, we can't go race anyway, because there ain't gonna be nothing out there for us to go race.
every track promoter fights that issue, getting enough people in the stands.
Yeah.
With
Well,
exception of
there's just so
maybe-
much more to do today for a promoter. I mean, people sit at home and, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so much more to do today. It seems like when you race up north, you're more of a rural area as far as like, every one of these, like, you go run that Summer Nationals, I've run it several times. It don't matter if it's a Tuesday night race, Wednesday night, Thursday night race. I mean, it's packed. And it's, but all these racetracks are fairgrounds. They're these old horse tracks that have been there for many years, and.
They've got a history,
Yeah, they got a
long
history,
history.
and, and it's just, way alive, like I've crawled in that truck and been gone for 2 months, and come home, and we roll into town or whatever, and there's somebody come up there and offer to wash your clothes for you. You know, 'cause they kinda know where you've been, where you're going, and, it's just, I don't know, it's just the fan up there is, I guess they just follow you more than down here, more than anything, it's just,
I will say that, since we own comp cams, we see
This
more,
y'all's third year?
this will be our third,
yes.
we see more of a fan following
Mhm.
than we noticed when we were racing. I mean, there's people that come from Louisiana or even from Arkansas that will go to every one of our races. Jack did a wedding, them guys, they drove a motorcycle everywhere we went. And Jack married him on the front straightaway
You a reverend?
in Texas.
I don't recommend that.
You a reverend?
We
You
all
ordained?
My record ain't real good at saying.
They're gonna go to divorce?
They don't go to
Yeah, I wouldn't even, at this point in time, I wouldn't even invite me to your wedding. Put me in it, 'cause it ain't.
Well, I hope I never have to have another one, I'm not inviting you if I do though, how's that?
You're letting us know you're safe.
She's not worried about anything with me, I assure you.
But we realize it more because we're on this side, and I really think that the fans, and a lot of these tracks have started doing things a little different to get younger fans.
I've had to.
I told Tracy, Clay, I've never seen the younger crowd be at her track, more younger kids at her track than I've ever seen before this past year. Of course, a lot of it's got to do with Crawley's kid. He looks good. And whatever.
Young
Young
man,
man.
yeah.
But, there's younger drivers racing, there's younger people following it. And, she's got a bunch of young kids that are coming up and, but, I really think the crowd in the Arkansas crowd is really starting to come. A lot of it had to do with, they were limited last year because of COVID,
Yeah.
but you're really starting to see a growth come back in the crowds. A lot of these racetracks we've been to, from Louisiana, Texas to Mississippi, all these tracks are having record numbers. I mean, they've been packed everywhere we've been.
COVID helped racing.
I agree with that.
COVID helped racing. It
And,
did. I mean, nationwide. I mean, every series we talked to is just a record crowds. Because people, instead of going to Disneyland, they went and bought a boat. They went and bought a
Side by
side
side,
or
yeah,
something.
camping supplies or
Campers
something.
and whatever. They stay close to home and they go to the local dirt track. And that COVID really,
It's,
it
They
helped.
use the dirt tracks for entertainment now like they used to, I think.
Could go to
More.
movies.
Not everybody does, but a lot of people do.
and I think the tracks have realized you can't keep them there for 6 hours.
And that's,
Well,
and
no,
that's-
and some of them
have.
haven't, some of them haven't,
But
but a lot of them
that's
have.
the big thing right there, because if you can run if you start at 8 o'clock at night and you can get over by 10:30,
11:30,
you know, that's.
11's
that's-
a good time.
You know, when you have guys that get there, you start at 8 o'clock and at 1 o'clock you're still out there, you've run off a lot of your fans.
The
'Cause they
racers
can't
don't
stay that
even
late.
wanna
They
come
can't-
back for
yeah,
that.
They can't stay that
Yeah.
late.
The drivers don't even want to
Well,
be
an
there.
average guy, he's got to drag, I mean, that's just face, he's got to drag his wife there, you know, and so she don't want to.
And kids if they have
Yeah.
kids, and
And,
it's hard
and
to
so
keep
they
kids
can't keep them there all night.
occupied.
Every major sporting event in this world is done in 3 or 4 hours.
Yep.
A promoter's got to figure out how to get, even if you need to start a little earlier, start at
Right.
7, whatever you got to do.
Even NASCAR races.
Yeah,
You know?
you gotta be out of there by 11:30, you know.
I agree.
You know, it's just,
And I really think most of the promoters have started gaining confidence in that and realizing, you know, and the bigger the crowd is, the easier it is, say when comp comes, to only have 2 or 3 classes versus having 7.
yeah.
You
Right.
know, and I think once they've started gaining that confidence, I think they're starting to see. you know,
Have we started, and this is a question for y'all, have we got to the point where we've got too many race classes?
Yes.
Definitely.
You know, when you go look at a track and you've got 6 classes out here that you're running, it's gonna take a long time to run that.
And I'm not downing the guys that can't afford to come and race a late model or
I agree.
a stock car. I'm not downing them. Everybody needs a place to race. But you can't run 7 classes every weekend. You're gonna have to learn to alternate, in my opinion, and use some of those classes and run them every other weekend. In my opinion, if you've got over 4 classes, you've got too many. That's my opinion. I mean, maybe a lot of people that don't like that idea, but it's hard to get out of there
Well, you know,
unless with over 4
and
classes.
something Minnie always says is our show's gotta be like going to the movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna go and watch a 5-hour movie.
No, but he said, you know, our program has gotta be, is got to mimic going, for a family going and watching a movie. We gotta be we gotta be in and out in about 2 hours.
3 is
Yeah.
long, and you can get by that sometime, but not every weekend.
You know, and the problem with that is, and I know, you know, we get to a point where, yeah, we've got those so many classes, but then, once we run our heat races, we've got an intermission, it's gonna be 30 minutes long.
It don't
You know,
take
it
that
don't,
hour,
it don't,
30
it don't,
minutes
it don't
long.
take that long for you to get, you know, if you decide that you wanna change spring, it ain't gonna take you 30 minutes to go out there and change spring. You know, because you got these other classes that are gonna be running also.
Yep.
Yeah, I just feel like the promoter, don't get me wrong, it all depends on how you make your money.
It
That
is.
is racetrack. Like, there's some racetracks, they're gonna make their money out of pit gate, there's some racetracks gonna make their money out of grandstand.
Right.
You know, if they get an extra crowd, that's just more money. But like, some of the racetracks you go to, they may have 3 classes of late models. Now, the average guy in the grandstand can't tell the difference between 3 late model classes.
Right.
I mean, we gotta narrow this up, you know, but, you know, you know, even like, I mean, you can look around Ed's class here, I mean, I don't know how many versions of street stock you got in one building, I mean, I can count 5.
You know, this is the Batesville Camaro, their hobby stock class. This is a Louisiana factory stock car. The Arkansas factory stock car is sitting over there. Ryan's Arkansas factory stock's back here. The Arkansas street stock, or would be a Power I car this year, it's sitting out here in a trailer. That's the thing about having, if you're gonna race more than one place, up until if the stock cars come in here, you've gotta have too many different versions of cars in order to race. I know most people are not, can't afford that many cars, and people look at me and won't know why I bothered, but, you know, I like to race different places and race different cars and everything, but it's a headache. It
But
really
that's
is.
the whole goal, maybe, you know, this IN6
Get
stock
to
car.
one class and
One
we
class,
run
and then maybe, you know.
anywhere we wanna run.
And then, you know, then it.
Everybody kind of takes on that same thing around the state.
And then it's
here
the
you go.
classes.
And that's what I'd love to see. And I think
I think they're seeing
Tracy made the comment to me at the banquet. She said, I would love to see everybody in the state, IMCA, qualified and everything. Everybody run the IMCA. You know, it's not gonna hurt them. I think it'll make more cars available. And yeah, there's people that's gonna run at different tracks, but you're gonna have that anyway.
Right. You know, because, yeah, you ran down there and got a championship this year at
I-30.
I-30. But, in all honesty, anymore today, the racer don't go out there and try to win these championships at tracks that much anymore because they're bouncing around to too many tracks that they want to go race at.
I-30 has the most dedicated group of racers I've ever seen.
They do.
They do, they really do. And Tracy and I talked about this, and she said, I know it. She said, I'm lucky that we have so many people that just won't go anywhere else hardly. I think it's as much down there in Little Rock, maybe a prestige type deal in Little Rock to say, hey, I won down there. You got a lot of sponsors down there. And we're talking about sponsors that'll call their buddy, and he may be sponsoring another car, and you're, you know, well, we outrun you last weekend. What's y'all's problem? You know, it's just kind of a deal, I think, in the bigger cities where they got the size of racetrack and the amount of racers they have there. I think prestige is a lot of it there at Little Rock.
Well, you know, you talk about the young kids. I was that kid in the grandstand. My father took me and my brother when we was kids to the races. That's how we never come from a family of racers. I was the first one ever raced. And it all stemmed from my father taking me to I-30 Speedway. I thought that was the only racetrack in the world. That was my goal in life, was just circle that place. You know, I did not know there was a racetrack or what all this was ever turned into or whatever. I just wanted to win a race at that place. And that was my goal.
We watched it at River Valley over here. River Valley, what was that? Over at Bud Clayton's place. When I was a kid, Mom and Dad took me over there.
For Paging.
Paging Valley, yeah, Paging Valley. Yeah. They took me over there and we sat on the old bridge plank.
I remember
Big
that.
bleachers,
My
you know,
dad
yeah.
raced there several times, and I can remember sitting on those old bleachers.
Yep.
over
Old
there.
That's
bridge
how-
planks and.
But that's how a lot of
stuff
kids
and
get
stuff.
started.
It is, yeah.
You know, just going and watching.
Well, so I started drag racing. You know, we had this discussion last time. I drag raced, the time I was just, wasn't old, didn't have a driver's license when I started drag racing. I've done that for a long time. And when I finally decided I did get into the dirt track racing, we built a guy that worked for me in an old stock car right over here in the other bay. He's working for me and he wanted me to build him a stock car, and so I put the roll cage and everything in, got to hanging out down there with him. And that caused me to buy a car. And I bought a car off of Dave and Roy Owens. And Dave, you know, Dave worked up here at United Motors, and he was a hell of a mechanic. He was a good mechanic. And Roy was a good driver. And they'd won a bunch of races with this old car, a bunch of championships, and I bought this old car off of them. And that's how I got started. And it was kind of funny to me, and I don't know if you were probably the same way. I can remember this, and it was a model car. And I can remember the first time I was on a racetrack, I thought, man, I am absolutely flying. Well, 40 mile an hour, maybe 50 or something like that, you know. It's really strange for the first time on the racetrack. And I don't know that everybody's that way or not, but that's sure the way I was. And I've been in the old drag car stuff all my life, but I've never been out there on the dirt. Like I said, it just seemed like you just absolutely fly.
When you got started, Chris, did you start off in a late model also?
No, I ain't never drove.
You never drove, okay, just
I
him the
just-
whole time,
he
you were just helping him the
followed me. He
whole
just
time.
followed me.
You followed him and helped him the whole time, and then this kinda got it.
I put him in a car one time.
How'd that turn out?
Let me say, used to go on racetrack, I was sitting over there and he said,
Was it late model?
no, the modified, he
Okay.
said, how
Well,
do you
did it have the bird or Bryn or?
It had an automatic.
Oh, okay, well, most of these people, first time they get that, in the bird or a Bryn,
No,
they can't figure out why you have to
he
put
had-
it in gear and then push the clutch in to
If
make it go.
it was a bird ring, he'd still be in the
It's
pit.
still, it's everybody got it down track, wouldn't he?
But, he says, why didn't you didn't see that guy? He just, I said, I called Tracy, I said, listen, I just need about 5 minutes after the race is over so I can put my brother in his car. So anyway, he gets out there, we push him in there, he gets out there, and he's driving around out there, he gets going, and he makes it about a lap or two, and he comes in, he pulls up and he says, man, you can't see nothing out here.
That gives you a new perspective in
He
one of
said,
them.
I was flying. I said, yeah, you was. Just now you never put that thing in high gear. I wasn't in high gear. No.
Now, here's a question that may be unpopular, but, are we having too many big races these days?
Well, I think it depends on when you have them.
That goes in cycles, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, if you're like super late models, there's no local tracks
Right.
that have them.
Right.
So our deal is really unique in the fact that we have a group of racers that are good, and we have a place to run. But like when they're running into a lot of these deals now with these crate cars, they're trying to put on 3,000 win races. Well, the local tracks, even stock cars, when you try to put something, these local tracks need stock cars and they need crate late models to run their local racetrack. That's what part
It brings their
it
money
brings
in
their money
on
and their
weekend show.
fans in. So when you start bucking that, then you're hurting the local track. And so what I think is happening is they see somebody that has success, then everybody wants to have that piece of that, pie and doing that and all that. So I think it's very critical when they do it versus what they're doing. Cost of racing went up, obviously. But I think it's real critical that tracks be smart, and like Tracy, at the end of her year, points ends, and then, people start having, like Mooney puts on big race there at Batesville. I think he does it at the right time of the year, and it allows people to finish their years up, then come race, but when they start doing it in the middle of the year, it starts hurting.
It hurts your local tracks.
Hurts your local tracks, and then, you'll get some guy wants to put on a series of stock cars. Well, all you're doing is taking away from your local tracks that need that every day.
You're making locals travel.
And that's just, it hurts to me. That's just my opinion.
And something else, and you talk about the right time to do it. And I don't know if it's been so much this year, but I know in years past, in my opinion, and I'm not picking on there, but it seemed like the seasons went longer and they started earlier. And I just don't think in the climate that we have in Arkansas, we should be trying to race in February. I know there's some states that you can do that, but it just seems like the schedule
One thing about the February.
wears a lot of people out.
One thing about the February racing, I've noticed if you can get it in, you get a home run.
If you do.
I think that's why they want to try it. I'm like you, I don't think the season should be that long. I'm kind of like Johnny Burton, and I don't think you ought to race for at least 60 degrees.
and I'm not harping on anybody in particular, but I just don't know that in Arkansas that we're set up climate-wise to have February and November racing.
Well, there's several reasons why racetrack do it. For one, they go out there every day, they look around there and they think, man, I got a note to
Yeah,
make on this
they ain't
thing.
doing nothing, this thing
This
growing
thing ain't making
grass.
no money, we ain't rolling people in the gate. And two, depending on football season, depending on,
How devoted your fans are to the football, that's
I'm
a
just telling
problem.
you, if your local high
Little
school,
towns.
if your local high school's pretty good,
You can forget somebody showing up on Friday night to
Yeah.
watch race.
I'm
That's
telling
right.
you, it ain't gonna happen. And so, I've, even Tracy, and a lot of these, I know we talk about her a lot, but that's, depending on if they, even if Arkansas plays, what time of day,
It affects it.
It does,
What
yeah.
Johnny Stokes, he schedules around this Mississippi State. He can, 15 miles
You
from there.
mentioned football and that, and I will tell you something, a lot of people may not have figured out, and y'all may have with the series. But I can tell you that when Pee Wee football in our area went from playing on Saturday mornings to Saturday night, it killed the local racing crowds.
Yeah.
Pee Wee football.
Yeah.
It goes back to what I'm saying
Just go
earlier.
watch your kids play.
People, there's so much more to do today than there
Yep.
was 20 years ago,
Right.
and,
Well.
let's just face it, Tracy, there's probably 3 million people in the, probably 2 million.
In an area that
Right.
she draws
In the area
from,
that
she
she
draws
draws
in, areas
Yeah.
around that she draws from.
And then Mooney, he probably draws from 2,000.
Yeah.
Mooney's in the worst place in the United States, nearly, you know
He's
what I'm
got
saying?
more to fight than Tracy does.
And plus, it's tougher on Friday night when you're out in a rural area like Batesville, because if you're going to Batesville, Arkansas, and I don't mean any disrespect, but you've gotta be wanting to go to Batesville,
Yeah.
Arkansas.
That's, I tell people all the time, my new crew guy started up, he was asking, well, how far is Little Rock? 45, 50 minutes. How far is Batesville? I said, all night.
Yep.
It just, it takes a while to get there, and it's not as long as it feels like.
And
it
if you've
is a lot
got,
of times.
racers who have jobs or own businesses that can't close the door till 5 or 6 o'clock,
It's hard for
and,
them to
and they're
go.
down in this part of the state, they're not gonna make a race at Batesville on
They
Friday.
can't go. They can't go watch, they can't go race.
Back when we first started racing mods, there was 4 or 5, Byers, Armstrong. There was a small group that run Friday night at Mooney's place. They bring your car home, change the gears, go to I-30. And you'd run against 30 up there, but, 25 of them were local guys, and then you had us go up there, and then, we'd go to Little Rock, and you had 35, 40 of them down there back in the day. But I also think it made you a
It
better
made a
racer.
better racer out of you also.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
If you, and Tim and I talk about this a lot. If you're gonna be top-notch driver and stuff, and I know there's exceptions to every rule. I know myself, the more races I do, the more I drive every year, the better I am. Racing, used to whenever we raced down here at Plummerville and BB, I raced both tracks every weekend. Same car. I was a lot younger back then. We come in and change a motor on Saturday morning because you could run a different motor at Plummerville than you could at BB. A lot of Saturday mornings, we'd come in and change the motor, and Dave Owens I was telling you about, he stuck with me later on. Roy got to where he wasn't in good health, and they quit racing. And Dave went with me and helped me. And Saturday mornings, we'd sit right here in this bay many a time, pulled out the 406, put the 350 in, and then have to turn around again next week and change it back. But
That's just like you talking a while ago, when you go up north, you race on Tuesday, you race on Wednesday, you race, and it's a different track.
it's
every-
5 nights a week, 6 nights a week up
And you're,
there.
and you're changing stuff all the time anyway.
That's like at Summer Nationals, like I said, I've done it, and there's a reason why I call it a hell tour. But you're in and out of that thing every night, and so, you learn a lot about you learn a lot about your car,
And your crew.
and you learn a lot about everything. You learn, you don't know what the date is, you don't know what town you're in. I mean, it's just tough.
You know which parking lot you worked on the body in
Yeah.
last night.
And, it's just, what though, looking back though, it's probably one of my, some of the most fun I've ever had, cause
Well, it taught you a lot about racing also, like you say. I mean, because you got a lot more seat time.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just,
Every night, just about.
yeah, I mean, it's,
How many days is it now?
I don't even know what they do now, but when we did it, it was 27 nights and 30 days,
We done, when I went at the time, it was 21 nights, I think is what it was. And I think might have got past 14.
we
I called Melanie from up there in Illinois, and I told her, I ain't never been so sick of anything in my entire life. I'm coming home.
Well,
She said, stop at West Plains. West Plains is tomorrow night. So we stopped at West Plains and raced. Done pretty good that night. Kind of got feeling a whole lot better. And then we turned around and went and raced somewhere Sunday. By God, Sunday night, I was headed for the house. I had that truck in the wind. We was coming home.
Them guys are dedicated to that stuff, and like a lot of these guys are. I mean, we go to racetracks, all them guys are dedicated.
That's what I said, like a lot of the guys that run your series at Comp Cam, I mean, they follow you around from state to state to state.
You learn to respect a lot of them guys, a little different than, probably when you run. I mean, you always had respect for people when you race, but now you just see the other side of it and how they're having to put things together to go race, just like what we did. When we didn't think about it, we just did it, and you see that side of it, and those guys are really, I have a lot of respect for a lot of them because they are, they work their butts off just like we did,
You can see it a lot
You
different.
see it a lot different from what
from
you
your
used
side
to.
now, yeah.
What was it, Chris, that made you decide to venture off and take on the Comp Camps Lake Hill Series?
I don't know.
That's right, Jack.
I
I don't know either, huh?
I really thought we would
Hey,
go.
fame and glory.
Uh,
Fame and glory, that's
I
what
really
it is.
thought,
The same reason we're doing
The
this.
same as we're doing this, we're all trying to be movie stars.
it just came, looking back, there were several things that, Jack and I had talked about, maybe getting into the chassis building business, maybe getting into the, running the series, being a part of racing the rest of our lives, because, we probably wouldn't do it forever, but, owning a race series is really tough. When you're dealing with, he always talks about he's neck down, I'm neck up. I'm telling you, there's both sides of that really works, hard. Making sure the tracks that we're going to and the people that we're dealing with and understand and we're promoting, getting sponsors and, and it's,
so we gotta deal with two different groups. I mean, you deal, as a promoter of a series, everybody's a customer. I mean, your racer's a customer, your racetrack's a customer, and your fan's a customer.
Right.
And so,
These sponsors you got,
and your
they're
sponsors,
gonna expect you to do everything right every
and
time you turn
so
around.
you have to, and we're all eating out of the same pizza to some degree, and you've gotta, and you kinda gotta put all this
that
together
right.
and try to make a show out of it, and, there's a lot more go into it than I ever really thought. I'll be the first to tell you. And, and we, when Ellis, he kinda got down health, and I'm a fan first, me and both, we're a fan first of racing. Cause like I said earlier, we got more out of racing than we ever dreamed. All I ever cared about was circling that I-30. If it all ended today, I'm content with what we did in racing. I won more things than I ever dreamed about. And, so but I'm a fan, in Long Creek, we're a fan of open late model racing. You know, we just, that, there's nothing other than maybe driving that stock car right there.
It's more fun.
Feeling than, cause you call that late model, they call back.
Yeah, that's amazing to me.
Yes.
You know, this year, and I ain't drove late model a long time, but this last season, whenever we drove the truck, we put the late model tires on it,
Yeah.
Centerville.
Mhm.
It'd been so long since I'd been on a set of tires that was real race tires.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You know, I come out and we got in there the first time I run that thing out there, got in and told Ryan, I got out and I said, I feel like Superman. I said, that thing go where you want to put it.
And that's a question there, like you're talking about, you know, when you get in a late model, like you said, that tire is so big that you can drive the heck out of it and not worry about a whole lot, all right? What was it like all of a sudden jumping out of that late model and jumping in to that modified that's got them hockey pucks on it that don't act the same way as that tire in that
It's
late
about
model?
like walking on ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember whenever I was late model racing and we'd go to run the 10 at Batesville. First corner you drive off in that Camaro, Camaro's loose getting in the corner anyway. First corner you drive off in that Camaro, you think, oh Lord, am I gonna hit the wall? Chasing the back end of it. And I'm serious, it's unreal at the difference
And like you said,
in tires and what we're running on these smaller
Yeah,
cars.
there's the tires, I mean, they're different than, I mean, yeah, they're just, I mean, especially tires we run now, late models, I mean, they're not the softest we've ever ran, but they're probably, we softened the tire rule up from, you know, they were 40s, 55s, 1600s. We actually run a softer tire now, you know, 1350, which is probably the middle of the road, you know, it's more of an all-around tire to where,
and twice as wide.
I don't know about twice as wide as it used to be, but, you know, you can run it wide now, and then, so it just made the.
No, man, I'm talking about that compared to the modified
Oh,
tire.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm talking about compared to that
Yeah,
modified.
yeah, twice as wide as a modified
Yeah.
tire, that ain't even really a tire.
One thing that, and I see that we're close on time, how many races are y'all doing this year?
We have 32.
Yeah, 32.
And,
It's a lot of
We were
races.
looking at your schedule today.
It's a lot of races.
we have 32 scheduled and, you know, in the past, of course, nobody predicted COVID, nobody predicted the year before, it was
It rained for 9
rain
weeks.
for 9 weeks, and then, but, you know, we've got 32 scheduled, but we've got them scheduled a certain way, and we're gonna stick to that schedule, where, you know, we're supposed to race this weekend. So they've had 10 inches of ice and 3 inches of rain in the last 24 hours, really, down there. So we made a good call and pushed it back a week, and we'll go from there. And then,
And
you
you
know,
race from what? All the states, you go ahead and tell everybody, I mean, the states that the Comp Cam Series is running in right now.
we go, you know, of course, Arkansas is our home base, but we go to Texas, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi. Guess that's about it this year. And we go to Riverside, you know, we hadn't been there in a while. We go back to old number one, and then we go to, we got Kenny Wallace coming in on, at the I-30, on the 20th for the Will McGarry race, 474 race, and so, you know, we, and then later in the year, you know, you know, we'll end up back at Crowley's Ridge, and then we'll go, you know, into Mississippi and race. You know, we'll co-sanction with Lucas a couple times at the Topless, and then the Bad Boy 98 is at Mooney's place, and that is strictly ours. Mooney's worked with us on that, and you know, so that's something we're really looking forward to, if it had just quit raining then that weekend.
Right. It seems like that weekend gets rained
You
out.
know, but I think we're confident, you know, we realize we may not get all 32 in, but we're hoping, you know, last year we got 25.
Yeah, with that kind of year, we got that many races. We're not really a big fan of rescheduling. Cause people plan their years out in January, you know, and, so usually we rain out, we, you know, other than the last couple of years, we just had to, you know, cause of COVID and all the rain, we've had to mix, we've had to put some stuff in, cause we have obligations to sponsors
Right.
to, you know, they want to see
With the,
this race.
With the expense in racing, especially late model racing, how healthy is the sport of late model racing in this region?
Well, you know, people, you know, they talk about it, but our average car count was 35.1 at every, you know, our average car count.
Overall, yeah.
That's
So
a
we
good,
were-
that's
we
a
were
good
That's a
average.
good average, that's a
We're
real good average.
third in the nation.
We're the third largest, Comcam is the third largest series in the country.
We have a Tampa race day, didn't average that
Yeah,
many.
no, that's a good car
It's,
count.
we're lucky you're here, I mean, but we,
And I asked that question to kind of prop you up there a little bit because you always hear, well, late model racing's dying. You know, you hear that a lot, but obviously if you're having that kind of numbers, it's
Well,
got to
last
be.
year it helped, you know, it helped that, you know, we had 55 at West Plains when we, or well, we started off at Boot Hill like we were going, we had 44, 40, and then, you know, West Plains, we had 55, you know, but nobody was racing but us. And, but, you know, it's,
But it's kind of like a win, you'll take it
well,
when you get it.
you gotta understand something else has happened that a lot of people don't, considering what a modified costs, an AMC modified, and what it costs to run that thing up and down the road and race it, and what you have the chance to win,
Right.
a late model's cheaper in a lot of aspects. Because you can buy a car, you ain't gotta buy a new car, you can buy a used good car from somebody, you can buy tires, there's usually when I got home.
There's a lot of
there's
used
guys-
parts.
There's guys, yeah,
Used
there's a lot of parts, there's guys in my driveway to buy my tires. And so, and you can find you a used late model motor that's not an old motor, that just isn't an arm and leg, and you got a chance to go run $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 a weekend. If you just make the race, you get $500, $400. A lot of guys,
Modified.
and you don't have to
get-
race 40 cars for 300 to win. So, you know, I think a lot of guys are seeing this, and you're seeing a lot of my guys, and a lot of our rookies and all these guys coming up, most of them are mod racers. They've decided to, from the way the expense is, gonna try it and see.
and I really think we've got a lot of guys that are dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
They realize that, you know, we're trying to expand on what Chris Ellis built, and we're giving back.
You're dedicated to them, and they're dedicated to you.
We're dedicated
That's
to them,
exactly
and
what
I mean, you know, our profit margin is probably zero.
We understand that.
But,
Hey, you mean you're breaking even? I'm gonna get me a series, boy.
a lot of it is because we've been on that side,
Yeah.
and we want what's best for them. And, you know, and we've had a lot of good sponsors step up and been a part of our program, and they realize that money they're giving is going back to that racer.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do these checks and all this extra for the race that finishes from, you know, we're gonna do that probably a little different this year, but, you know, but we're giving it all back. And that's a big thing.
A guy may run 10th, and he'll get his 10th place money. He may leave there with an extra $100, and you know, and it don't seem like a lot, but let me tell you, what appreciative the idea.
Yeah.
And we write that check out to, and it says at the bottom of it, who give that money to him.
That's exactly right.
That way, that guy knows that Midwest Sheet Metal give him an extra $100 to run 10th.
He's way in the pits the next time
That's
he goes
right.
to
And
race.
it's little things like
It's
that,
cute.
I feel like goes a long way to our racing.
You know, and that's where, and people wanna be a part of it. You know, Joe Clay Jr., his business, wants to be a part of it. Mark Bennett, you know, they wanna be a part of it. And they're all local companies here in Arkansas that wants to be a part of that success. And that's
Well,
what's
because,
driven, that's
because
what's
like you
driven.
said, they know you're giving back, they see you're giving back to the
Yeah,
racers.
we're not keeping it, I can promise you that, yeah.
Well, I believe you.
But, you know, and it's a lot of people like Ed that have been a part of racing, that love the sport. You know, we don't have to do this,
No,
you know, but
love it.
he loves
I
it.
love it, I enjoy
Bill
it.
Fry, you know, you can go down that list of all them guys that's been a part of what helped them, you know, along the way.
It's brought to what it is
It's
today.
brought it to what
A lot
it
of
is
people have
today.
been here.
You know, it's like Tim Crowley. That guy's raced for his whole life. I have all the respect in the world for him because I've watched him my whole, you know, ever since I've been watching racing. And the guy just races, and he's a hard racer, and you know, and there's a lot of people like him that, you know, the Mike Byers, you know, can't leave him out. I mean, you know, we used to race him every week, you know, and people like that, that help bring Arkansas racing to what it is today. And, you know, you think a lot about that, and all the old timers and, the Bobos.
Old timers
Yeah.
like Ed.
Old timer like me.
I mean, that's really why we started this, is to get, you know, get those old timers' stories documented and out there, and then plus, you know, bring in a few, you know, current things going on. And,
There's
You
a
know,
lot,
they
there's a
started
lot
the
of
Young
stories.
Gun series this year at some of our tracks around and
Right.
stuff. I hope that really goes over good. That's where we was talking about getting the
Getting
young
the young
people back
kids
in.
out there.
We need to do something to get them in. I don't know how many there is involved or interested or anything, but I'd sure like to see that go and go well, because some of them, that's just like Cody's boy. God, you know, he's not very old. I don't know how old he is. He's not old enough to drive, of course, you know, but he's wanting to race, and he's raced karts and everything. And I hope he makes a real good driver and everything. But there's several people out there that have got kids that would love to be able to race, but they gotta have something that's cheaper. And I think maybe that's what they've come up with. I hope they have now, the tracks have.
When we're getting looked at over here.
Yeah. I see the sign.
I see a legal eye over there.
Yeah. So I guess now we're at,
well, you know, before we close,
yeah.
we'll go to Chris here first. What can we look forward to out of the Comp Tim's late model series?
Well, I mean, we're really excited. I mean, you know, we've got, you know, almost all of our people are back, and plus we've added some more, and we got some big things happening. You know, old number one's doing a 5,000. You know, Tracy Clay's, you know, got a 5,000. You know, that's in March, and then you know, Mooney and you know, has been very supportive of us here in Arkansas, and so we've got a lot of stuff going on that has really built our purses up, and you know, I think Crowley's is going to make an announcement on his deal that we do there, and soon, and so you know, we've got a lot going on, and our people are there, and we've got a lot of commitments, and so we're excited. I think we've added Flow Racing TV to our package this year, and they will be doing approximately between 10 and 18 live shows, and so that's something we've added that people can watch, and you know, when so those things are exciting, and you know, we're going back to West Plains on the Larry Phillips race, and we go there in April, and then you know, we're back at the Plummerville Speedway on the 16th. That's an added race, and then we go to West Memphis to Riverside. Hadn't been there in years, and so we've added some of those. We're going to Poplar Bluff, you know, when we go to West Plains in April, and so there's some new tracks that we hadn't been in a while or hadn't been at all. We're excited about our deal there at Plummerville. They've really done a lot of work there. And, so I really think, you know, it's looking,
Some new races
New
this year.
races
sound
this
like.
year.
Indeed, yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, it isn't the lack of tracks that's our problem. I mean, I'm not bragging at all. It's, you know, we try to run 2 weekends a month, you know, and because we consider ourselves a blue collar kind of series to some degree. We're trying to keep it there, but, so, you know, people can, well, I think we take the month of July off, basically. Is it almost?
yeah.
There's a month in there we take off million. Some people go on vacation, stuff like that, you know, with their family, stuff like that. We try to do all that, but try not to run everybody to death. Cause,
You've been there, know what that's like.
yeah,
It's
and
just-
then we gotta keep it where a guy can, you know, I mean, not everybody can just take off and leave every Thursday or Friday, go off work and go race. So we try to play that deal, and their racetracks call every week, want races, but, you know, we try to stay in our own little wheelhouse.
We turned as many down as we got racing. I mean, we could.
But that's a
No,
good
no,
thing.
that's good.
That's a
That's
good
good.
thing. That's a good thing for
You
you.
know, I can't, we've done the Dallas thing, and that's a ways for our guys, and, you know, we could've went to Alabama and Tennessee. I mean, we could've, you know, I could've went,
Traveled almost
We go
Florida.
to Kentucky, I mean, they call,
They
you know,
call.
we just, you know, we
there's
just
just so
can't.
many you can do, and
Yeah, so many of your guys, that y'all, the type guys that race with y'all and stuff, won't go that far.
Right.
They'd love to, but they gotta be home and go to work Monday morning.
that's it.
A lot of them do.
Well, Edwin, what does 2021 look like for you?
This season looks like we're gonna be IMC stock car. I don't know that we'll have time to do anything else. The plan right now is to run Friday nights at Batesville and Saturday night at Little Rock. Since Mooney's taken on the IMC stock cars up there, that gives us an opportunity to run our stock car 2 nights now, instead of just the 1 night that we were doing at Little Rock. And I think that will, I'm pretty sure that'll help the driver some. I hope it does.
More seat time.
More seat time, always more seat time,
Always.
yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Jack, before we get into your 2021 plans, the Cadillac chassis, if someone out here is in the market for an IMCA stock car, what sets your car apart from everybody else's?
Well, I hope me.
And by him saying that, in all honesty, this year will be different than what it was last year, I feel like, because he's gonna drive one himself this year.
Yeah.
Some, I don't know how much his plans are doing that. But he has a pool of knowledge to draw from some of the best in the business.
And I want to
I
say
agree
this,
with
we got here about an hour before the show and had an opportunity to really look this car over. And there's some beautiful craftsmanship in that car over there.
Well, thank you, you know, we
We're
try. I am too, unfortunately.
He's picky too, I'm gonna tell you.
You know, I'm probably too picky to be building anything to sell, but meaning like I'm just kind of OCD. Like I put a body on a guy's car last week, and car was sold to a gentleman in North Dakota, and he come down, we put it together and all this. Well, you know, I probably worked on the fender for an hour, you know, just trying to get it fluffed and buffed and turned, and, you know, it's just, I'm just that.
That's something that's unusual we figured out with these stock cars too. The one you put the first or second body on last year showed up at one of the IMC events, and they told the guy that owned the car, they said, and we never seen a body look that good.
Yeah. First one I ever did, I didn't really like it. But,
They do a little different at some of the.
But there is some
states.
very nice and quality craftsmanship in that car, I think as well as you would find anywhere.
well, thank you.
And as he says, we're awful picky, and we wouldn't just say that if we,
Well,
if we
There's a lot of people building cars now. There's a lot of people building stock cars. But they're not all running up front.
that's true.
you know, and, you know, I feel like, I don't feel like anybody will really outwork me. And so, I'm not so much worried about that as much as, you know, I don't really wanna be the biggest, and, you know, and all that, really, I don't really care about that either. I just, wanna build a good quality car and try to help a
Good
guy.
quality winning car, and help people
Yeah,
in the areas that they need help.
yeah, it's really good.
And I'm gonna jump out there now and ask a question. You know, there's lots of people out there that when they buy a car, that when they get home, they start running a little bit, they got questions and they call and they can't get no help. The question, and that's the question I'm asking you. If I buy one of your stock cars, can I call you and say, hey, I'm having a little issue here? Are you giving information out to help these guys that are buying the car off of you?
Oh, absolutely, that's the whole.
And it
point,
is,
you know?
it is, but there's cars out there where you can call and you don't get no info.
You get their basic setup.
Right,
Yeah.
you get the
You
basics.
won't get the setup that Gordon Jabrowski's on.
Right,
I've got his setup right there in my phone.
but that's what I'm getting at,
Mhm.
you know, so. You know, if you got the guy that bought the car that's beating you, that's a good thing,
Well, yeah, I mean,
from
that's,
time to time, you know what I'm getting at?
that's,
Yeah.
you know, even Joe, you know, he always had the model of everybody trying to work together a little
Right.
bit to help us all a little bit, and, you know, even just sitting there, my phone's rang about 3 times from a guy that, you know, bought one last week, and so when I get off here, I'll have to go call him. And so that's part of it, you know,
Right.
and I accept that, and I'll,
It's about like late model or our series. We don't care who wins.
yeah.
You know, we won't.
Everybody has the same
have
opportunity.
Yeah. That's the way, you know.
These cars are so close. Equal. It's unbelievable. If you've not seen them race, if you've seen them race, like we raced Little Rock last year with a smaller group of cars, we were still a lot of close racing. But I went to the series that they run in Texas last year at the beginning of the year. I want to go down and see some of these cars race because they get one built. I go down and watch these things race and I'm like, God, man, these boys are right again on the side by side, and they may be side by side for 30 laps. The same 2 cars, there may be 2 more right there behind them. You know, they're so equal. It's unbelievable how equal they are. It really is. It's surprising, shocking, it really is.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, and we thank you all for inviting us down tonight. And it's been very informative, and we look forward to what the comprehensive series events are for this year. We'll be talking to you, Edward, to you as well, Jack, and good luck with your venture. Thanks for that, like this. So Heath, where are we going next week?
Next week, we'll be going down to Mena, Arkansas, down to JB and Jeff Brotherton at Brodex, and talking to them.
That's good.
Yeah, we have a good show next week. So tonight is a good show. But anyway, we want to thank again our sponsors tonight. We want to thank Chambers Bank, 26 locations in Arkansas. We want to thank Weston Petroleum, also Shaw Race Cars in Batesville, Arkansas. True Grit Auctions, Arkansas's #1 online auction service. The rankings come out this last week, and they were #1 in the state of Arkansas. So if you're thinking about having an auction, please give them a call. And we also want to welcome Kevin Rogers with KR Race Performance Fuels for coming on board with Arkansas Motorsports Magazine, and also Western Petroleum. And we also want to give a shout out to Straight Line Transmissions up in Greenbrier, Arkansas, and Eddie Hoyer over at 4th Place Speed and Mufflers. So, thank those guys for all they do for Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. So for Heath Tate, Chris Sullivan, Edmund Wells, and Cadillac Jack Sullivan, I'm Bill Gilkey, and we'll see you back next Tuesday night from Mena, Arkansas. And before we get out of here, got to thank our production manager. We didn't do it last week. Got to thank Aaron Gilkey, because if it wasn't for him, he still hasn't figured out how to operate all this equipment and, don't know how and,
All the rest of us have to decide.
yeah, we just sat out here talking. Aaron makes it happen. Thank you, Aaron. And like I said, we'll see you back next week from Mena, Arkansas.